Okay, in this video, I want to show you how to apply wax and how much, which is very important to prep your work for glazing. And then also, if you want to do wax resist, then that's an option. So here's that, and the first thing I like to do is get like a Lazy Susan or this Amco wheel, which is available for your use in that middle cubby, and also this Lazy Susan board is up on the shelves too, so it's nice to use. And then when waxing, it's really important to lay newspaper just in case you have drips, because if it gets on the canvas, it's very hard to take off, and when you're wedging clay on the canvas and working on the canvas, you don't want pieces of wax to get into the work. So keeping your work surface covered and protected with newspaper is good, because then if you just drop wax on here, you can throw the newspaper away. But first thing I like to start off with is use a pencil and draw a line on the pencil where you need the wax line to be. And so if you use like a Lazy Susan, it's a lot easier to kind of just turn and draw your pencil line. Okay, and then what's important is you want at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch. With you guys, I suggest 1/2 inch if possible, because if you apply the glazes too thickly, the glazes will run a lot more, and so you're waxing the bottom of the pot. And when you apply the glazes, and if you apply too much of it, the excess glaze doesn't get absorbed by the clay, the bisqueware, so it will run. And if it runs, if you have extra space down here that doesn't have wax on it, then you have a safety net before it touches the kiln shelves, which if it runs onto the kiln shelves during firing, then it basically damages the kiln shelves and ruins it, and you have to prep the kiln shelves by scraping it, which is a lot of work. It creates a lot of dust. You need to have particle filter mask, and so I ask you guys to be very conscious of how much room you give for running of the glaze, and also when it comes to glazing your bisqueware, to keep that in mind if your work runs because you put excessive amount of glaze on it and then also didn't give enough room, and I don't catch it before it goes in the kiln, then I'm going to be giving you the kiln shelves to clean. So keep that in mind. You don't want to spend 1/2 hour scraping kiln shelves. So make sure you prevent that from happening. And also, another good thing, I almost forgot, even when you're using this, it's good to have little newspaper down so that if you drip, then you're dripping on the newspaper here too. Although this would be a little easier to clean than the canvas, but it just prevents a lot of work afterwards, just if any of the wax drips. So here's our wax, very clearly labeled. They're over on the Glaze chemical shelf, and there's multiple bottles of it. It can kind of get chunky, you can see, but it's still good. I just suggest, like, if you get a little chunk on your brush, just kind of nudge it off onto the side. And I like getting a wider brush, but people have their preference. It doesn't matter. You can use one of these. these are also really nice too. So it depends how fine and crisp you want your wax line to be, okay? But basically want to cover the entire bottom and the edge where you don't want the glaze to be. So I like to just start on the top and outside, and the moppier the bristles, the less dipping you have to do, but when you kind of bring it to the pot, you don't want this wax to be dripping, because then that risks the chance of dripping onto your pot, and then you'll have a drip mark of the wax, which you're not going to be able to get it off unless you burn it off. Okay? And so here's just, and you want to get a nice even coat on it. And I got little chunks in here. It's not going to be a big deal if it's on there. But it's good to remove it, because you don't want to risk the chunk of loose wax to drop off into a bucket of glaze that you might be dipping your work in. Okay? And so here we just, this is kind of why I like the flat angled brushes, is because you get a cleaner line when you paint the side. But there's that. It's just, yep. And anywhere you get the wax on will resist the glaze. Oh, also, the drawing with a pencil, you don't have to worry, this graphite burns out in the firing. So even when you're doing glaze work, if you want to use multiple glazes and paint the glaze on, you can make outlines or boundaries with your graphite pencil, which might help you actually visualize the areas you want to paint specific glaze colors, okay? So, okay, and there's that. Another really important part of waxing is you want to do this well ahead of time of glazing, because you don't want the wax to be tacky when you apply glaze. Otherwise, the glaze just gets all smudged on it, and you can't neatly brush sponge off the excessive glaze that kind of like puddles onto the waxed areas. Okay, so pretty good. And then you just want to let this dry. Here's like a flatter big pinch pot that I just glazed the bottom, so it's not as crispy and easy to tell how much you need to glaze. So just do a little bit more than you think. But also, if you want to, when you set it on the table, you can measure it. We got rulers up on the middle shelf, and so just be thoughtful about it and give enough room for that glaze to run, and so you can wax up to that. Okay, and then like if you have a little foot on your work, then you can wax the foot where it will touch the kiln shelf, okay, and then leave a little room for glaze running space, and which is another way. So, yep. And then also another thing you can do is when I'm making just a simple pot with not too much decoration. I like to kind of play around with the way I create the bottom wax resist, and so I do this like little ruffle pattern a lot, and so that's another way you can glaze your work, is in that ruffle kind of pattern. And yeah, it works really well for me. Okay. But yeah, so that's another option. And then the other method I kind of wanted to show, which I have the pencil line already drawn out over here, but I may do like, let's say, maybe just a couple of lines or triangles. Let's do little lines. Okay. Drawing on what you call it, the concave surface, is always interesting, but so I just made a simple line. It's like this, and then you can take the velvet underglaze. It's velvet underglazes can be applied to both bisqueware and greenware, like this. Okay. But I'm gonna basically, when it's on the outside of the pot, you don't have to worry about having a tight seal on things, so you can actually leave raw clay surfaces in areas. So like a velvet underglaze comes out to a matte finish, and I think I want to basically for this apply this black velvet underglaze to where I lined, and some of these can be very chunky, so you can kind of put it into a little container and rework it, and you want to shake it up well, and you don't want like huge chunks and things. Also, it's always really nice to have like your little sponge and water next to you when you're working. It helps with the drips and cleanups of the process. And I'm just applying little strips of black velvet underglaze. And I don't have a really steady hand right here, so I got a little bit out of my line that I like, and so having a little sponge to clean it up is always good. And you know, you gotta sponge pretty well, but it'll come off. Let's see. Also, I've seen artists use masking tape. So if you want to get some masking tape and tape places and then apply either the velvet underglaze or wax around it or directly, that's an option too. And then depending on how you apply your tape, you can get some really nice crispy lines. So it's all up to you guys. You can, if you want, hand draw different patterns and then wax. I think like those artist tape, which I've seen at the bookstore, might work really nice for creating little mask to prevent wax or velvet underglaze on certain areas. Let's see. Okay, so kind of got that going. Just a little rough example of that. And then you can wait for your velvet underglaze to dry, which shouldn't take too long because the bisqueware really absorbs the moisture. Okay, and then when you get this, then you can apply wax to your painted lines if you want those parts to be matte finish and exposed. Basically not have the shiny glaze on top of it. And then, of course, wax your bottoms, okay? But the wax resist too, you can do little dots with it, you can do circles, you know, draw. If you want to, you can draw directly with the wax. That's fine too, okay? So this is kind of a fun way to have, let's see, let me do that. And like depending on, I guess, the size and kind of brush, you could have a different wax shape when you paint it. So I'm just gonna make a little diddy daddy. works. Maybe like confetti. I guess that's what I'll imagine. It's confetti. Just press it down, pull on it. And so basically every place that I'm applying this wax will resist the glaze. And see? And then of course when you apply the glaze you'll get little kind of, what do you call it, little splatters of glaze that's not stuck on the pot but is on the surface of the wax. And so you can take your wet sponge and dab it off, wipe it off nicely. Or another method I like for smaller surface area is to take just a little pointed brush and little cup of water and like brush off the excessive glaze that has puddled onto the waxed area. So, a little, which, you know, more little resist areas of wax that you create, the more area you have to clean off properly. And then also, like, be careful so you don't have too much wax on your brush when you apply these little, and then you get a big puddle when you apply it, and then like if you rotate it, that puddle could drip. It's happened to me before, so just pay attention, keep that in mind. Kind of made my rounds here, and I'm actually just going to continue this confetti throughout the whole thing and not do a resist over the black lines. So the black lines will just kind of be in the background underneath the glaze, and it'll be very subdued, but I'll be able to see parts of it where I do have the, whoops, now that's a lot. That's what you want to be careful with. And then okay, got that. I'm gonna just kind of let this dry, and then while that's drying, I'll probably wax the rest of my stuff. Okay. Okay. Okay, and the really important thing using wax too is your brushes, clean it immediately after you're done with them in hot water. This is water soluble wax, so a good warm hot water will clean your brush as well, so that you can preserve the life of the brush and continue using it. If you let it dry, then it gets really crusty like this, and at that point it ruins the brush. So you gotta wash it out while it's still wet. Okay, don't forget 1/4 to 1/2 inch for bottom of your pot for wax resist, and then the whole bottom. Okay. And then also the other thing is, when you have your initial stamps in your pot, let's see, like this, I also always like to wax the stamp area so that the glaze doesn't cover it up and fill it in, because some glazes are a little thick and it will just kind of like gloss over your initials and stamp and you'll lose that detail. So keep that in mind when you wax, to basically make sure to also wax the part of your stamp and initials. Okay, I think that covers it.